like seeing Mindbar posts come up. I'm like, oh my god, I don't even think I've seen this. Like, do I like it? Is it right?
This is like, did I approve that?
That's the fun part.
I guess sometimes I'm like looking at it now. I'm like, I definitely didn't look at this one. It looks fine. I mean, I don't like it a lot. It looks. They put up a photo of people zooming and everyone's in like business clothes. Like it looks like a business meeting.
All right. You ready or what?
Yeah, sorry. I'm just
That's
reading
already
this.
recording.
I mean, oh my gosh, Paul, you didn't tell me that.
It's
Okay.
fine.
Now you know.
Golly.
All right, I'm just gonna take 30 seconons.
Do I need to put these on?
Just get
Is
some
that-
photos.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Ooh.
You can do some mic tests.
But it's okay if I drink my drink during?
Oh yes.
Okay.
Just you just want to leave this at a place where you're not gonna move it. So even if it's a little further than you, it's fine because I'll just do the.
Oh my gosh, this is so weird. It's exactly. Oh, you can hear yourself.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
That's part of what we hope.
I'll try to get used to that.
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Mm-hmm.
Alright, cool. Sweet, man. We got this going.
Perfect. All right, I'm gonna just do one where you're just smiling. 3, 2, 1. Get one more. 3,
Okay.
2, 1. And then just one, just like just as if you were talking to each other. I'm just gonna get.
Yeah. So is there anything specific you want to get into?
Not really. Just kind of answering your questions, I guess.
Is there anything you don't want me to bring up?
No.
Cool.
Mm-mm. And you said about like 45 minutes?
Or so.
Golly, okay.
I mean, it's gonna feel very conversational. It could go only 20 minutes, but
Okay.
that never happens. But it's just, it feels right at some point where it's like, all right, we're done.
Yeah. Okay.
And it's usually about 45 minutes, but
Mm-hmm.
Perfect.
it's been 2 hours before.
Oh my god, I cannot imagine talking for that long.
Yeah. Right. Cool. And then on that second door, CJ, like don't lock it in because it's really loud whenever you open it.
Open it. Okay, so
Yeah.
just like leave it. Good luck, y'all.
Like,
It was a
just
pleasure
leave it. Just
meeting
leave
you.
it. Cool.
Can't wait to hear it.
All right, well, here we go. So, welcome to the Hdyh Health podcast. It is a Thursday. We usually shoot on Fridays, and so Thursdays feels kind of. I wonder what tomorrow's gonna feel like whenever it's like, is it Friday yet? But we are speaking to Hailey Oneil today, and I am so excited to finally get to conversation with you because we've been talking about your company, Mindbar, for a while.
Yeah.
And it's like coming to fruition, and you're starting to be a business owner, and we were just talking about social media right now. Let's give the audience a little bit of a little background on yourself.
Yeah, definitely. And I'm super, super excited to finally be here. So thank you so much for having me. And yeah, I mean, we met a long time ago with your MSW Lounge pop-up, getting the shots, which was really, really cool, and have become friends and kind of kept in touch about MSW and Mindbar over the years. So yeah, like you said, really excited to it's finally real.
It's finally real.
It's finally real. So I'm really, really excited about that. But yeah, it's been a lot of work and a lot of years coming. So
yeah, I'm so excited for you. But so I remember, I don't know, maybe 2 years ago was it that we sat down for coffee to discuss like new marketing moves that we could do.
yes. Oh my gosh, wow, that's been a long time.
It's been a long time. Right?
Yeah.
So one of the things that I love about the Hdyh Health like brand and the company being called that is that it's about talking about health in so many different aspects about life, whether that be like, we're gonna get into mental health because that's a lot of what you're into right now, obviously, but even business health, right? Like even we do get into business a lot in our podcast, so we can talk a little bit about that as well. But how has that been for you now, like running a business and
yeah, it's been great. I've been working out of school for about 10 years now, and I think that I've had really great jobs, and I've been really lucky to be working in kind of the tech startup space, but I've just kind of hit a point in my career where I knew I wanted to do my own thing and kind of work for myself and follow something that I was passionate about, but I just couldn't figure out what was that one thing. Like, what was the one thing that I was excited enough about and passionate enough about to take that risk to step away from like a safe safe job with a paycheck and risk it, because I think it has to be something you really believe in, to do something essentially for nothing.
Sure.
And so yeah, it's been, of course, stressful when you work for yourself and you aren't getting paid what you're used to getting paid, and you don't have the comfort of like a real company, but it's also so exciting.
Yeah.
And it makes the stress and everything that comes with it so worth it when you know that it's yours and it's for something that you are starting. So I'm loving it.
And that you're working for something of your own, right? Because sometimes you feel like you're stuck in a job. You're like, I'm doing all this for like someone else.
Exactly. And it can be hard to find the motivation sometimes there. And so I think that even though now it's a lot of sleepless nights and stresses and things like that, I wouldn't have it any other way, because I'm finally doing something for me, and that feels better than anything else.
How long was that period that you before you left, before you decided to make this jump? Like, how long did you think about it?
Oh my gosh, such a long time. That's a great question. I would say probably 2 or 3 years.
Yeah, like if you're like, I want to do this, and like, no, I don't want to do this.
I was actually listening to, I remember it so well. I don't remember how many years ago it was, but I was on a walk and I was listening to a Dr. Phil podcast, and it just really profoundly affected me. He said something like, there's no such thing as the only way that he would think that he failed is if he looked back on his life and wondered what if.
Yeah.
So he was kind of like, I would rather, quote unquote, fail at a million different things, because I don't see that as failing, because I tried it and I don't have to wonder about it. And I thought about that like nonstop after listening to that podcast, and thought, I've always wanted to kind of try my own thing and work for myself, and I've had this idea for a long time. And if I don't do it, I'm going to, for the rest of my life, wonder what would have happened if I did it. How would my life be different? And I don't remember how many years ago that was, but that was kind of like what made me actually do it.
That was like the big
Dr.
jumper.
Phil.
Yeah, that's awesome. Was it like a podcast or?
Yeah, he has this podcast, and it was a mini series called Living on Purpose.
Oh, nice.
Oh yeah, so good.
That's awesome.
I love Dr. Phil.
Well, it's really neat to have that. I feel like, because we went on a walk the other day, and to have that, like, when you're walking around Austin, like by the lake, and like we like to go to Squatch. Actually, Squatch, there's a big group of people doing blood work here. Buzzmill coffee shop.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So
is that still open?
Yeah. So it's the same owners.
Oh cool.
And they have a gym as well too, and now they're starting a different company as well too after this. So it's pretty neat
awesome.
to, like, it's always like, hey, like, there's a lot of inspiration in the idea that you can listen to something on the walk, and then see people doing their thing, and even sometimes seeing people like stuck in traffic, which is, it's almost like I kind of missed it in a sense, like, not really, right? Because you can get there quickly throughout this whole thing, but the idea that there's things going on, right? Like, people are doing things, that just motivates me all the time.
Yeah, I always have these like profound thoughts when I go on walks.
Yeah,
super interesting.
So then you made the jump, and
I always still feel like I'm making it. Never really feel like I've made it yet, but yeah, I suppose so.
So you mentioned that the stresses are different, right? So how in what sense are they different? What
That's such a good question.
Yeah.
I think oh, excuse me, this drink's very good. It's making me bubbly though. I think the best way to answer that would be, when I dealt with stressors at like my tech startup jobs, my other jobs, it was more so things I had on my plate, like emails I needed to respond to, sales I needed to make, quotas I needed to hit, like almost like a task of responsibilities that were laid on me in my role that I needed to do. Whereas being the head of the company, you're starting a company, it's a different stressor, because you're the one that has to figure out what needs to get done. Like, you're the one that needs to create the list of all the different things across the whole company that need to get done, and what's the order of prioritization, who should do each thing, what do I have bandwidth for, what do I get somebody else to do. So it's different. It's a little bit, it's stressful in the sense of you kind of feel like it's all on your shoulders.
Mm-hmm.
But again, I prefer it because it can feel a little bit monotonous when you have a long list of tasks that you didn't come up with, and it's kind of like someone else telling you what to do. So there's trade-offs for sure.
Well, I feel like it's obviously a stress, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
we spend so much energy on running a business,
Mm-hmm.
but on this side, it definitely feels more like I get to do all this
Yes.
than like I have to.
That's a perfect
Yeah.
way to put it.
Well, because it's true, right? Because it's like it goes back to like, well, at least I'm doing it for myself, so I get to do all this
Yes.
for myself, as opposed to like I have to do this to keep someone else happy.
Yes, it's so funny you say that because that's one of my mantras is to replace the word have to with get to.
Yes.
And it's been super helpful. And I mean, the perfect example of that is when you and I went to coffee a couple years ago to talk about like marketing. I got to learn marketing.
Yeah.
And a lot of people would think, oh God, I had to learn marketing and read all these books and listen to all these things and go to marketing school. But, you know, that's kind of one of those other things that comes with starting a business. Like you have to take on the marketing, you know, writing blogs, creating a website, all these things that you have no idea how to do. But if you choose to look at it with that get to mentality, it's like you're always learning and every day you're learning something new.
Well, there's and the whole failure aspect, it's like the idea that like, well, they're just learning opportunities, right? To know that I mean, right now, you know, we're shooting this podcast and we're doing all this, and there's audio and there's video and there's 3 sets of microphones and then there's lighting, and those are all things that like when we were looking at like what is it going to take to do all this, it's like, man, that's really expensive, right? Like, or like I can learn how to do it, and then I don't have to spend the money on that. There is that trade-off of like, well, is it better to pay someone to do that so that way I can like use my time more efficiently somewhere else? And there's a balance, right? Because after that, it's like, well, if I learn it, then I can save a lot of money to then be able to teach someone that doesn't know this skill a new skill, and now I'm like helping someone learn a new skill. It's gonna be very valuable. Plus, I get to like pay less for it.
Yeah, it's definitely a balance because there are a lot of things that I spin my wheels on and take such a long time doing myself. And then it's not even up to the level that it would be if a professional just spent like a few hours on it. So it's definitely a trade-off of that, because I've had many sleepless nights trying to figure things out myself, and then, you know, realizing it probably wasn't worth the effort.
Well, I always feel like it's worth the effort to know that, like, yeah, this is exactly what I shouldn't be doing. Because it goes back to, like, what if I would have just done it and figured it out in 10 minutes?
Yeah, that's a good point. When we were building our website, I was like, I'm going to learn about Wix and how to build a website. It's going to be so creative and so much fun to do. I love this type of stuff, picking out colors. And I was just beating my head against like a wall, trying to drag and drop things and figure out the language. And it was not the fun project that I thought it would be. And so that was one of those examples. It was like, I'm glad I tried first, because I got to kind of figure out that I don't know how to do this and realize this is something I should just pay somebody for. But yeah, something you were saying earlier, thinking about the podcast and like the cameras and the microphones in the room and all the things you had to do. I think that, you know, one thing that's been a big key for me as far as starting a business is like, it can be easy to look at something like starting a business or something, a big goal or dream like that, and think it's overwhelming or unattainable. And so you just never really get started. But if you just kind of do something, like get started in some kind of way, taking little bites at a time, it really all starts to come together.
And it compounds, right?
Yeah, exactly. Like, again, when you were mentioning cameras, microphones, lights, like, it sounds like a lot when you think about starting a podcast altogether, but when you break it down into those little steps, it becomes very doable. And I think that was one of the biggest things I realized starting Mindbar was like, just do one little thing each day, and then you'll eventually look back and everything you've done will come together. You just have to be a patient human being, which I'm not, but I'm working on it. And
that's basically what discipline is all about, right?
Yeah.
Like I love discipline. I thrive on it. It's just like, hey,
you do, you're good about that.
Well, because it's true. Like, you look 2 weeks later and it's like, damn, I already made all this progress, which I wouldn't. And right now I'm learning German.
Oh my gosh,
and I'm
that's
just
amazing.
like, and I'm on Duolingo, and it's like on.
Yeah, can you say something?
You're putting me on the spot. Tell me something to say, and then I'll say it.
Can you say, "Hi, Hailey, welcome to my
I don't know
house
about that.
or
That's
company or whatever you know." I'm trying to think of simple words.
Hello, Hailey.
Welcome.
I don't know how to say that word yet. I mean, it's welcome, but
yeah.
the sentence structure is different.
Yeah. Or I'm hungry.
Ooh, I don't know hungry yet. I know, like, you're just putting me on the spot right now, but like, I know a lot of words.
Yeah.
The next part is the actual like sentence structure, which is actually pretty similar in some ways to. Actually, there's times that I'm looking at a sentence and I'm like, oh, that's more like Spanish, and then I'll use a different word and I was like, oh, that's more like English sentence structure. So I still haven't figured out that balance yet, but I know a lot of words.
Duolingo's very like basic. Like it starts you with just a bunch of words like elephant, apple.
But I think it's fair, right? Because I'm remembering these words. But so I was just like, okay, I'm just gonna do three little rings every day. It's like a game, right?
Yeah.
And it takes me 20 minutes, not even. But I've been doing that for like, I don't know, maybe a month now.
Yeah.
And so it's compound. All of a sudden, I know all these words. I can read a sentence and understand it. It's really more like I'm confused about like what order does that go in.
Yeah. I know how that goes in Spanish.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's when I think about, starting a business or any goals really, like just do little things to move in that direction every day, and you'll be surprised and amazed by what you can do with just exerting a little bit of a focus on it every day.
Yeah, so that gets me to, you have a business partner.
Yes, Barbara. Oh,
I love her.
The best.
She's great.
I know, she's so wonderful.
So at some point you obviously had to figure out like, okay, who do I want to partner with? Was that even a thought, or was just like, this just
honestly
feels right?
No. So my it's funny kind of and for, I guess we haven't talked about what Mindbar is yet.
Yeah.
So Mindbar, I think that in the world of health, sitting here at MSW Lounge, things like vitamins and supplements and nutrition has come a long way. Physical health, gyms, workout classes has come a long way. People enjoy it. I love going to Whole Foods. I love going to my gym, Athletic Outcomes. I love the community around it. But mental health has not had that moment yet.
Yeah.
It's expensive. Most people are paying $150 an hour to go see a one-on-one therapist. It can feel isolating. You normally have the meeting set on your calendar way in advance. So I know for me, I've had times where I have my therapist meeting coming up and I'm thinking, well, I don't really have anything to talk about this week. And, I have to pay $150. And so long time ago, I started seeing Barbara actually as a therapist, myself here in Austin. And the benefits of therapy were just insane to me. Like I got out of a bad relationship, out of a bad career. Like I just really started to thrive going to therapy. And so when I kind of transitioned out of one-on-one therapy, I started recommending a lot of my friends and family to go see Barbara as well, because they were noticing all the positive changes in me and kind of wanted that same thing. And it got to the point where I was referring so many friends and family to her that we kind of became this, little like self-help community. They would talk about what we were learning and the tools we were learning and the techniques and the strategies. And that's when I kind of had the epiphany moment, again, many, many years ago. This should be a thing. Like if everybody could access these type of tools and this type of support and community, I think the world would really be better, honestly. And so I remember syncing up with Barbara a long time ago, just kind of saying, hey, I would love to start like a gym for mental health, like where people can come in, do group therapy classes, learn different skills and tools together and talk about it together. And she kind of said, hey, that's great. Let me know if you want me to help you with that. But, she had opened a restaurant in the past and didn't really want to get back into the world of like a physical space and managing that and running that.
I've been to the amount of restaurants. She's like, I'm telling you right now, don't do it.
Trauma. And so anyways, I kind of was like, thank you for your help and support. And I went and found a location on the east side that I was about to sign. Again, still with the mentality of like a yoga studio for therapy. And then COVID happened.
Yeah.
Which damn, it really flipped everything around. And so then I kind of thought, well, now this is going to be online. We're going to take the same idea. It's going to be the same thing, but we're going to make it online. We're going to pivot it. And it was actually an amazing moment for us. Barbara then said, hey, I can really make an impact here. I want to work with you on this. Like if it's online, I want to be your partner. And of course, for me, I was like, I don't want to do this without you. I can't do this without you. You were always kind of that inspiration. And so yeah, we got to work building the website and building it all out online, and it's been amazing because we can reach more people. It's more scalable. The two of us can go farther on our own than we would have had to bring on a lot of other people probably if we had a physical space and pay a lot more money. So
Yeah.
it's been an awesome couple months. We only officially launched in May.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, we've just been loving every second of it. It's been wonderful. And so I couldn't, long-winded answer to your question. It wasn't really like I thought about, oh, I need a co-founder. Who should I pick?
Yeah.
It was like, she was always the inspiration for why I was starting this. And so it just happened so naturally that we needed to work together on this.
And it feels that way every time that the last time we went out, well, we did a photo shoot, right? Because we were just like, hey, let's go do this because it's going to help with the business and all that. And of course, I'm always there to support you because I love you.
You're the best.
And then we went out afterwards and met up with, I guess it was other Mindbar members.
Yeah.
And it was neat to see that it's like, okay, so it's like your therapist hanging out with you, and like it's not, because most of the time you think about therapy, this is like, hey, if I see you somewhere, like you gotta just
ignore
me, like we can't like have,
or like I'm embarrassed to mention that that's my therapist because I don't want to tell anyone I see a therapist.
Yeah, and so like we hear stories like that all the time just from people coming here, and it's like, well, I just want to talk to my therapist about it, but it's hard because I don't know what to say. I don't even know if they understand.
Yeah.
And then it doesn't even feel like we're together because I do run into them like every once in a while, and I'm supposed to ignore them, so it just feels like weird. And it's like, what? I started a therapist. I told you. I don't know if I told you that, but I started therapy recently as well too. And it's with an online person, and he's a good friend now too, and like we hang out, and like if we can, he lives out of town, so whenever he's in town, like it feels like a friendship, and but at the same time we're there for each other, which is how it should feel. Feel.
Yeah. Absolutely. And that's one of my favorite things about Mindbar. We're not trying to take the place of individual therapy. I think that's really important. But there's this big gap of people that don't necessarily need costly medical treatment or formal therapy, but do still want access to the benefits therapy brings and the tools that they learn in therapy. And so what we're trying to do with Mindbar is to address that gap. And our membership, instead of $150 an hour, it's $99 for an entire month of unlimited group therapy. And I think that one of the really cool things about Mindbar that people might not have experienced in their therapy journey thus far is the group aspect, because you brought up a point when you were telling that story of like, you don't really know if your therapist understands necessarily. You don't really know if they've been through it themselves. Whereas when you're in a group class with Mindbar, you're in a class with other people that have had that same experience as you. And so it can be really wonderful to learn from other people that are going through it and who have been through it, to create like a friendship with them and to learn from their experience and get their advice. Like, I think that all the classes that I've been a part of, I've learned even more from the members of the class than the therapist a lot of the time.
Yeah, and I've noticed that there's this when we're hanging out, someone is always open to like, hey, I'm gonna pose this question real quick.
Yeah.
And everyone's comfortable with it.
Yeah.
Even though it could be an uncomfortable question otherwise.
Totally.
Right? And I've experienced that a couple of times hanging out with you. And it's like, that's cool because like, why not? Right? Like we kind of pride ourselves in that too, is that people come and just like talk about whatever. We'll join in. Obviously something more like, there's issues that we don't get brought up because people don't know if it's comfortable or not, but they're comfortable at your place.
Yeah, we create that safe space right off the bat. That's like, this is what we're going to be talking about. And one of the other things that I love about Mindbar is that we're having classes all throughout the day. So, and most of the classes have like a theme or topic. So for instance, there was a class the other morning on dealing with relationships. It was at 8 a.m., just quick 45-minute therapy class. And my fiance and I, we never really fight or argue, but I got so pissed at him the night before. He was driving me crazy. And it was so nice to wake up and see that there was like that class in the morning. And so before I talked to him the next day and before he came over and we talked it out, I got to join into that Mindbar dealing with relationships class. And there was like 6 or 7 other people in the class that were like, oh, I'm dealing with that too. And this is how I've seen success. And then the therapist kind of listened to all of us and said, well, here are the tools that you can actually use when you talk to your partner. It's called nonviolent communication. You want to talk about your feelings, not attack them. You want to tell them, you know, why you're upset and ask if you can work on it going forward. And it was so great because I got to like kind of take that breath and pause before talking to him, and he was so receptive because I didn't like put him down or attack him. But you know, with a regular, if I was just having a one-on-one therapist, I would have probably had to schedule an appointment a week or two out, and then it wouldn't really be as relevant anymore. So anyways, to your point about like being able to talk about certain topics and ask those questions, it's cool that the Mindbar classes have kind of overarching themes, so that when you go into it, you kind of know that you're walking into that safe space to talk about that topic.
Yeah. I mean, you mentioned nonviolent communication. I was just listening to the audio earlier because I've read the book. Have you read the book yet?
I just learned about it in therapy.
Oh yeah, so it's fantastic, and then there's like a whole audio set. Like you do a course, I guess, on it and become nonviolent communication certified, I guess. But yeah, it's a lot about like speaking about what your needs. And there was something that he said recently about like that we should sometimes we say our needs in a very much like almost a negative manner, in the sense like I'm gonna tell you what I need, and there's a negative tone because I'm already thinking like you're probably gonna think I'm needy, or you're probably gonna judge me, and like how can you expect someone to judge you? I mean, you should expect someone to judge you if you're already setting that tone, kind of deal. And there's a reference throughout the trainings and the books that he talks about like delivering a need that you might need in a way that it's a gift to the other person, right? Because it's almost like I'm being as clear as possible. Not that clarity or non-clarity is a bad thing. It's just more of that. Actually, that's the idea. It's like there's no such thing as a good or a bad thing. It's just we're trying to get to a safe space together. It's such a great
tool. I hate the name of it. I think nonviolent communication. I hate that name. But yeah, I remember when I first learned about it. Like, it was a huge game changer for me, because when I'd gotten in fights in the past with like relationships or my mom, it would be like, and my mom, like, God bless her, I still talk this way to her in relationships. I use nonviolent communication, but my mom's like my outlet to be like, Mom, you're the worst, you're stupid. But yeah, when I would get in a fight with a partner or something, it would be like, you're you know, doing this wrong, or you're coming home so late, I'm so pissed, like why are you doing it like that? And then with nonviolent communication, it was kind of an epiphany for me, because I was able to just kind of sit down and breathe and be calm and say, you know, I'm really feeling sad that we haven't spent a lot of time together lately. You know, when we don't spend time together, I feel lonely. I feel like there's room for interpretation of how you feel about me and where your head's at. Can we work on that together going forward? How can we work on it? And it's like, wow, I just had a whole conversation without using the word you, which like is really crazy when you think about it. Because before learning about nonviolent communication, it was like, God, you suck. Like, why are you doing that?
Yeah, well, it's almost like putting the blame on someone else. Right?
Yeah, and I think when people hear the word you, they just shut down because they feel attacked.
Yeah, well, it's like blame, or either putting the blame on someone else or not taking responsibility for your own like happiness, right? In a sense.
Yeah, and at Mindbar, like, that's one of the biggest things that we do is teach tools, like actual tangible tools that you can take home and use. And I think that's another benefit of group therapy, is like, because there's other people in the class, you have to kind of anchor it down into tools and strategies that everybody can use. And so I feel like I actually walk out of every single Mindbar class with something like that.
Yeah,
which I love.
Like a good nugget to
and the guys don't even know, like Penn, my fiance, he doesn't even know. You know, I'm sitting there having this amazing nonviolent communication with him, and he doesn't even know that I was like in a class that morning and learned all of it and wrote it all down.
It's like Jedi mind tricks. Right?
Yeah, exactly. Like, no, I've been thinking about this conversation all day and practicing it in my Mindbar class, and I just crushed it.
That's cool. Well, it's interesting because a lot of the times whenever we try to have those harder conversations, it's usually like, I don't even want to think about it. Just I know when I see him, I'm gonna like I'll know what to say. And then you'll just like no.
No. It comes from a place of anger and like nervousness and frustration. And we have one of the classes that we have too is on work stress. And one of our members, she's lovely. She was having some, you know, complications at work where she, you know, kind of going back into the office versus remote, and not necessarily getting along with her team lead, and kind of how did she navigate that. And she used that same session, that kind of nonviolent communication, to have a conversation with her boss about like, hey, this is kind of how I'm feeling about where I'm at work. this is what where I would love to get to. How can we work together to get me there? And you met her at happy hour, and we got to kind of raise a toast to being like, hey, like, you did it. You went in and had that conversation and made those next steps in your career. So, I mean, I just geek out over it. I could talk about like Mindbar and mental health tips and tricks all day, but I truly believe that mental health should and is having that moment that like physical health had, I don't know, in the 70s and 80s, where it's kind of has an opportunity to become cool and mainstream and something we're all talking about. And I really want to be on the forefront of that.
Well, the other thing that I feel is the reason that it's important to talk about it is because there are so many tools, right? And so many times we are so convinced that it's one thing and not another thing. So like going back to like a non-binary communication, there's a lot of talk about like we don't even know what feelings are sometimes. Like there's one that he talked, because we were talking about relationships, there's one that he talks about love, right? And it's the idea of like when someone in a romantic relationship asks, do you love me, right? And a lot of times we ask that in a sense of a feeling, and he explains that the idea was like, well, that's kind of interesting because if we're talking about a feeling, feelings change all the time. So like, do I love you when, like right now, or like, you know, just in general, most of the time. Correct. And so it's like, but if it's more of a state of like I am in love with you, then I don't necessarily have to feel love all the time, because sometimes I do feel anger, and sometimes I feel, and it's okay, and then it's more like, but I need the space to figure out like why I'm feeling, like what triggered those feelings, what thoughts are going through my mind that are helping me have this like emotion that I'm not comfortable with. I think that's everything. I think that being able to identify that and talk that out is everything. And you bring up a really good point about if you can't really figure out what emotion it is you're feeling, it's really hard to address it. When I was starting Mindbar, I kind of had a moment where I realized I should start stepping away from my full-time job. And I was feeling, the word I was using is I feel guilty. I feel really guilty. You know, like I'm not giving my all to that job, and that I'm not, you know, that I should be doing more there. And I just feel really, really guilty about it. And we were in a Mindbar class about work stress. And the therapist kind of said, well, the definition of guilty is feeling like you're doing something wrong. Yeah. And I was like, well, no, that's actually like not how I feel. Like I'm so excited about Mindbar. I've told everyone at my company that I'm starting it. I go to work every day with my Mindbar shirt and bag. Like they're excited for me. Like I'm not sneaking around. So no, I don't feel like I'm doing anything wrong. And even just identifying that emotion helped me breathe so much easier, because I was like, I'm not guilty. I'm not doing anything wrong. And we kind of realized that emotion that I was actually feeling was just a little bit of anxiety with competing priorities, because I had two competing priorities. And so I just realized I just need to walk away from one, you know? And it was like, oh my God, I just identified that emotion and made this change because I was just able to identify what I was feeling. It's hard. Yeah, well, because then if you think guilt, sometimes you'll think like, well, yeah, you're feeling something that's wrong, but then you're labeling that, right? Like you're already judging that emotion is wrong, and it's like, well, it's not. It's just, it's more of a hint of what's going on inside you, and then you can find a solution, right? Which is like, oh, if I can find solutions, I can run a business. Yeah, exactly. And we're all feeling those different emotions, like you said about love, like. Yeah, it would be crazy if we all didn't feel moments with our partners where we're like frustrated or angry or in an argument. And so it's nice to create that safe space, like with the Mindbar, to be like, hey, it's okay if today you're like more, you might not feel the emotion of love, you feel anxiety, you feel at odds with somebody, or you feel frustrated. Like, wow, here's 4 other people that are in this class with you that are feeling that same thing. And so I think that when you can feel less alone in what you're feeling and talk to other people going through the same thing, it gets rid of a little bit of that anxiety, because you're like, it's okay if I'm, stressed out about work, or if I'm mad at my partner, if I'm not necessarily feeling like my best self this day, because wow, look how many other people feel that same way. Yeah, and it's almost easier when it's in community, right? Which I think community is a need as well. You would imagine so. That's one of the other biggest things about Mindbar that's really different is kind of our blend of online and in person.
because, you know, we really do want to create that sense of community and introduce people as friends, introduce people that are our members, because they're all pretty like-minded. I mean, these are all people that are already working on themselves and who want to get better and want to improve. And so we're doing self-help book clubs that are meeting sometimes in person.
Nice.
We're doing member happy hours, member meetups and events. And again, we only launched a couple months ago, but we've already been really, really enjoying our in-person events, exchanging numbers with people, and kind of creating this community of people that want to learn and grow. It's Barbara and I's kind of like, we laugh thinking about the future, like 5-10 years from now.
Yeah.
And we would love for like couples to meet at Mindbar and
Yeah.
for relationships to form, because it's like, talk about the most emotionally mature way to meet somebody else.
Well, imagine like a part, like almost like a, well, sure, I'm imagining right now, I'm picturing right now, like big ballroom, and like there's people are dressed up and having nice, and then like one of y'all goes up and they're like, all right guys, the topic of the hour is like, and then whatever, and then everybody's just like mingling and having fun and having these like cool conversations, like intimate conversations, with strangers, and so I could see that like that.
I love that idea. Maybe if you could get a bunch of like really influential people in a room for a conference or an event, and they're seated at tables, instead of them talking about, you know, these things are important, I'm not trying to put them down, but instead of talking about like politics and weather and travel, it's like, no, like, let's all talk about, I don't know, when the last time you really struggled at your job was, and like being able to just open up those conversations. I never thought about it in like a ballroom capacity, but now I'm really
this is like the yearly gala and
I
like
love it.
and whatever, and like, yeah, why not?
Mm-hmm.
Like, because I love like themed parties, like for our grand opening we did red carpet and all that stuff, but to add that element of it would be really nice. I think it happens anyways, but it's cool, or every once in a while, like in a big group of people, I'm sure someone's having like an intimate conversation like that. But it's cool to have it almost like this is the reason that we're going.
I love that idea. Oh my gosh, yeah, we'll do that. We do all kinds of stuff like that with our small member base now, but I would love to see that grow even more. So I'm very, very excited about that, and I hope that people can join and be brave to talk about the things they're going through, because I promise it's such an amazing feeling when you do.
So are you guys doing anything like bring your partner to this event kind of deal yet?
People can come to a class either virtually or in person and bring a friend, bring their partner. Like, we're in this great spot right now, only being a month and a half or so into launch, where like, we just want people to know about us and to experience us. So we're giving away our first month for half off. So it's like $42 for unlimited therapy, or unlimited Mindbar classes in person and online. So yeah, like, maybe down the line we'll have to get a little more strict about it, but right now we're like, oh my gosh, like, we just want to help people. Like, that's what drives us, and what I hope will make us successful is like, at the end of the day, both Barbara and I are driven by wanting to help people, and as opposed to the other things that come with starting a business. So yeah, like, come and bring everybody.
Yeah, I mean, why not? It's all about the community and having a blast, and getting to learn some new tools, right? That's cool. So then for the future, right? Like, you see yourself already running this, for you and Barbara doing this. We talked about just maybe like a big event kind of deal. What else? What else are you looking forward to?
That's a great question. I would love to see Mindbar, obviously get really, really big and have tons of members all across America and the world. And then if that were to start happening, then we would kind of look at, let's say the US as an example, and look at the states that have the most members and hire kind of people for those states to be the kind of in-person event coordinator in those states. So let's say we had like 200 members who lived in Portland. We would hire like a Mindbar events liaison in Portland who would do, maybe like weekend retreats, member meetups, plan the book clubs, plan events with like local companies and things like that. And then we could maybe do like an Austin, Portland weekend retreat with all the different cities. So like, I see, hopefully as we expand and grow further, to do more in-person stuff, to connect more people, to do more retreats and workshops, and yeah, just kind of create a community around like, I met this person at Mindbar, this person and I were working on this together, I went to this retreat. Like, I want kind of in my ideal vision of a world, I want Mindbar to be like a name that people would recognize and know and associate it with learning and growing and associate it really positively, because to me it's not even just about Mindbar. It's to me about people being proud of working on their mental health. Like that's what I hope Mindbar can be, is people being like, oh yeah, Baldo, I met him in a class on working on my relationship, and people are proud to talk about that instead of like, oh, that's my therapist over there, somebody I met in a therapy class, but I'm not going to talk about it.
I mean, well, because we do pride thing on like how our physical bodies are, right?
Yeah.
And we go to the gym and we do all that stuff. And you mentioned how like originally that's what it was, right? It's like you want a gym for mental health. So yes, I enjoy that. I mean, I think that's a very positive aspiration, right? To have it where like people are so proud to like be working on their mental health. Because I mean, you can create anything, right? Like that's really what it comes down to, and it's just about. I mean, I don't know. Would you say it's a lot about attaching into your emotions, and you can and that you can like keep going forward?
Yeah.
I don't want to say despite of them, but probably because of them.
Yeah.
Or with the help of them.
Exactly, and being aware of them and recognizing them and honoring them. A lot of our classes and services also include like breath work and mindfulness work and meditations, and so I think just being aware of your emotions in general and honoring them. That would be kind of my future goal for Mindbar, is just for people to do that and to be proud of it.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I'm so happy though, because like I said, getting to see you do all this, and like I said, every time that I've hung out with you guys, and it's been such a blast, such a blessing, and I would hope that so many more people get to experience the same type of experience, because it's valuable, and it's good for you, and and
it's fun. I love it. I love going to the classes. I love the people I meet there. I love what I hear. I love what I learn. I really enjoy it. So I would, encourage anyone listening to this who's been interested in therapy or mental health, just come to like come to a class, see how you feel, see what you think, see what comes up for you.
What places they can find you and all that?
Yeah, so our website is mind-bar.com. So mind-bar.com. We're also on social media. Instagram is mind.bar. And then my Instagram handle is Hailey Holland 1. People can reach out to me directly. Like, I love connecting with other people and telling them about Mindbar, and if you ever want to like recommend an event or a book, like I love all that stuff. So you can either connect with me directly, or go to our website and sign up for the first half off month, or DM me about attending a class. Or again, we just want to be accessible. That's our biggest goal, is to like revolutionize mental health care and make it accessible to everybody. So reach out to me, reach out on the site, and we'll give you a chance to try it out in whatever way you can.
That's awesome. I gotta give one more shout out to our friend Joe Lindley. Did I tell you about this Forwards movement? And he's also so we had a what's it called, a fundraiser here. He's trying to raise funds for mental health awareness. I'm definitely going to connect you guys. I think we shot a podcast with him. Well, we released a podcast of him 2 weeks ago, because he's biking across America.
Oh my gosh, he sounds like an
And
amazing
so
human being.
on my birthday, July 15th, in 2 weeks, 2 weeks from now.
That's my stepsister's birthday.
Oh yeah?
Yeah.
Hell yeah. She's got to be awesome.
She is awesome.
I'm doing a road trip north, because he's going from the east up to the west, and I don't know, he'll be around the middle somewhere of his bike ride during my birthday. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna take a weekend trip and go bike with him, and help with the idea of like raising awareness for mental health.
I love that,
because it's so important, and you guys need to connect for sure.
Yes.
And that's gonna happen. But it's important, and we support it. And I think that if you feel like there's anything you've ever wanted to speak to or speak about, do it. Find someone to do it. Find us. Connect with Hailey. And honestly, the more comfortable it is, like I think, and the more community there is behind it, I think it's the easier it is. And that's what we want for everyone.
Exactly, and making it affordable and making it accessible is so important. I think and I'm experiencing this now, starting my own business. A lot of times, it's the people that have the least money that need it the most, because financial security is a stressor. And so I love that Mindbar is removing barriers so that hopefully everybody who wants those services can afford them.
Yeah, no, and you're totally right, because sometimes a lot of those stressors are related to. I mean, even it happens. Even running a business, obviously, like it happens all the time, and then you make that extra money, but then there's extra levels you want to take your business to. So then it's okay, so then that stress comes back again, because like I need to reach this new level. Hey, but it's all progress, and I actually just bought a book that I haven't started reading, but it's called Stronger by Stress.
Ooh, maybe we can book club Mindbar, book club it.
It's thick. And there's a lot, but we can. I mean, maybe a couple of chapters here and there. But there's also a lot of physical. There's a lot of reference to the physical stress, but it's just about taking. Like, we grow with stress. It's a necessity almost, but again, sometimes we just see it as such a negative thing, when a lot of times it's just a little warning and a little like, hey, like it's kind of like, you know, a sail ship or whatever, trying to like.
Yeah, I tell myself like, how boring would life be if you were never changing, if you were never stressed, if you never felt that, like life would be a little boring. And I think that you've got to have a balance of it for sure. You don't want to live your life in stress and agitation, but if you never feel that at all, I mean,
well, then how can you appreciate the really good times, right?
Exactly. Maybe, like I booked myself a massage today, and I'm like, oh my gosh, like, you know. So I saw it, for me, it always comes back to that. What do they say when you're an adult? You say like all the time, it's all about balance. Yeah. But yeah, like I love having a little bit of stress. I think that means I'm growing and I'm pushing myself out of my comfort zone. So
always. Well, it's so lovely talking to you and having you here, and we'll check in pretty soon.
Yeah. Thank you so much for having me. I loved being here. It's such a cool space.
Of course, thank you.
Yeah.
There you go.
Oh my gosh, we did it. That was such a lovely conversation. That
was 45 minutes exactly.
That's so weird taking those off.
Oh yeah. It's like, it's so loud in here.
That was like really enjoyable. That was a great conversation. So I can get that?
It'll
be obviously on your podcast.
It'll be on the podcast. I can send you. Yeah, and then there's a. What I'll do is that I'm gonna upload it to. Here's what I'll do. I'll upload it to a drive, send you a link so you can listen to it beforehand, and then that way you can also tell me like, hey, like if there's clips you really would like to use, just tell me like, hey, from minute 2 to 5 or 2 to 3 or whatever.
Yeah, because I've seen on y'all's Instagram that you'll do little like miniature video clips, and I would love like 1 or 2 of those so we can use them.
Oh, we're definitely gonna give you that. It's just more perfect. Of like.
That's all I need.
Oh, I think mine turned off.
I noticed there was a couple times where I went like this and I forgot it was there, but hopefully it doesn't matter. But yeah, that's all like I would want is like a couple of those that have us talking. And sorry, I still have my drink around. It's like really burning. So yeah, I don't, you know. I'm so glad we got to finally do that though.
I think they might have turned off. It's just all good. So I like having these because, well, let me turn these off. Because like on the preview clips,